Hello and welcome. His first loan was out of his own pocket, around $27 to help a bamboo furniture maker. Well, 30 years on, he's spawned an industry that has lifted millions out of poverty and earned him the Nobel Peace Prize. This week on One-on-One, meet the father of microcredit finance, Dr. Mohammed Yunus. Born and raised in a large family in rural Bangladesh, Mohammed Yunus studied economics at Vanderbilt University in the USA in the 1960s. He began the business of fighting poverty over 30 years ago when he returned to Bangladesh to teach economics. Disillusioned that his lessons of the classroom couldn't explain the famine outside, he began a movement of giving loans to the poor people. Disbelievers say the Grameen Bank is outside the realm of mainstream banking, but it's a system that's been emulated in more than 23 countries. Dr. Yunus says his fight is far from over and will not rest until everybody's been freed from the suffering of poverty. Mohammed Yunus, great to talk with you.
Thank you. It's great to talk to you.
You're described as the father of microcredit. So is that a fair description?
It is, because it all began with my work back in 1976 when I started giving loans to the poorest people without collateral, without any legal instrument, without any guarantee from anybody. So that's something quite different than the conventional banks would like to do banking. They depend on collateral, they depend on legal instruments and so on. So we actually freed the conventional banking from the collateral and the legal instruments.
So let's put it into very simple terms for those watching and give me an example of how it might work.
A person who, with a very small means, a poor person who would like to borrow from us, either we will go and explain to her or she will come and ask for it, for a loan to do something which will generate income for her. Like a housewife in a rural setting who the family doesn't have much income. She would like to take money to buy a cow, for example. A cow will cost, say, $200. She would like to borrow $200 from Grameen Bank. And we'll give her a loan so that she can buy the cow and sell the milk and gradually pay back the bank in weekly installments. And ultimately, within a year or so, she will become the full owner of that cow. And bank has been paid back with the interest and all the due that she owed to the bank. And this is how it works.
Two interesting expressions you use, she and payback. Now, what I gather is 96% of your customers are women.
That's true.
And they are actually much more reliable at paying back than men are. So explain that to me.
I wouldn't say that there's difference in payment habit for men and women. The reason we preferred women is more as a reaction against the conventional banks. As an example, I said if you take the gender composition of all the borrowers of all the banks, probably not even 1% of those borrowers would happen to be women in Bangladesh. So I said that something must be wrong in their system where you screen off the women. So when I began, I want to make sure that I don't repeat the same thing. So, I was lending money to the poor people, that's done. But I wanted to make sure half the borrowers in my program are women, so that it's even, it's a just system. Then we saw money going to the family through women brought so much more benefit to the family than money going to the family through men. So we changed our policy. Instead of 50-50, we said we prioritize women. As a result, we became very quickly 90%, 95%, 96% women.
Why wasn't this idea thought of before? Where did you get the idea to take such a radical move?
It's not something that I was looking somewhere else. It's the necessity of the situation. I was not planning to have a bank. I was not planning to change the world of banking. I don't have any such ambition. Simply, I was in a drastic situation in Bangladesh where we were going through a famine in 1974. People were dying of starvation. And I felt helpless. Here I am teaching elegant theories of economics in the classroom, and people are dying outside the classroom. So I asked myself, what good is your elegant theories if you cannot use them to save people?
But tell me about your childhood. Tell me about what it was like as you were growing up. What do you remember, your strongest memories?
When I was growing up, it was still the British rule. It's early 40s. I saw the movement of independence to let the British go, leave the subcontinent, and the creation of Pakistan, because the big political issue to divide the subcontinent into two countries, one in India, another is Pakistan. So Muslim majority areas which constitute Pakistan, that's an emotional issue, that's a political issue.
Were you aware of this as a child?
Very much indeed, because you can't avoid it. It's everywhere as you grow up.
And what about your parents? I mean, the kind of conditions you lived in, what kind of environment were you brought up in?
It's a very rural kind of setup. Whole East Pakistan, which later we became Pakistan, and part that on the eastern side is known as East Pakistan. East Pakistan was a very rural economy. It's agricultural based economy, hardly any town or city and so on. So I would say about 6 or 7% of the total population lived in towns.
So do you remember this, the kind of very rural and open atmosphere?
Yes, very much. That's how we grew up. I went to school in a rural school, sitting on the floor, and that's how our schooling began.
Happy childhood?
I would say happy childhood indeed. We have a lot of brothers and sisters, so it's fun to grow up in that situation. Yeah.
Actually, it was sad. I was sad to read that your mother had 14 children, but 5 actually died.
That's true.
What impact did that have on your family? There were so many of you, but also so many deaths in one family.
Yes, that's a shock that you see your siblings dying and then try to stay together.
What was the cause in most cases?
Most cases, childhood death, diseases, not many medical attention at that time in the rural areas of Bangladesh. So health services were didn't exist practically. So it's more local healers.
How did it affect the emotional sort of unity of the family?
The family is a very tight-knit family. That's the way all the families probably grew up in our time. Very small family with small means, a lot of children growing up, going to school, and so you make do with little what you have. Yeah, you buy school books, and you pass it on the whole set to the next child in the family, who inherits your books and carry on, and you try to protect the books so that you don't mutilate them, don't destroy them, so that it can go longer, so that the other children can have. If you are the older brother in the family, you keep your shirts and whatever dresses you have for your as you grow up, the next one puts it up, and this is how it grows. This is the way all the families maintain their families. So that now looking back after long years, I see the role my mother played in having that kind of attitude, that it's a problem together, solve together kind of attitude.
How were you able to get her attention and get the attention you needed when there were so many siblings?
Well, you scream hard. Get the attention, get it done.
Did you all remain close?
Yes, all our brothers and sisters were a very close family, yes.
Now, I understand your mother went through sort of illness later in life.
That's right,
and
yes.
How did that affect you, obviously, because that's when she was such a strong
Well,
force?
that brought the children closer together, because now the authority of the mother is declining because she is sick. She cannot take care of the children, so older children looking after the younger children. So that's how the family moved. We tried to fill that gap by younger generation rather than looking for somebody else.
You went to study in America in the 60s. Yes. You went to Nashville.
That's true.
Of course, an interesting time, the Vietnam War and the hippie movements and everything. Right. Coming from Bangladesh, the environment that you described, what sort of, how did you look upon this completely different lifestyle?
It's in another world completely. I had no idea what it is. It's quite a cultural shock that you go through, particularly coming from Bangladesh in '65, coming to USA. It's something. And then I faced the problem of racial discrimination. I had no idea that this is a problem going on in the USA. We occasionally read some newspaper article, but coming to Nashville, I first time faced that. We were told Vanderbilt University became integrated last year. I came in '65, so it was integrated in '64. This is a completely new concept that some people are not allowed to go in because their color of skin is something different.
Presumably there weren't many South Asians at that time.
No, not many. In the whole school, Vanderbilt, we were 3 only from South Asia at that time.
So you were quite a novelty. Did they know where to place you?
No, it's an amazing thing. We were not considered as black because we are foreigners. So we didn't come into that purview, but we were just wondering what is this all about? Why can't they go and do it? And then at the same time, the anti-Vietnam War movement, and all the campus was bubbling with the anti-Vietnam campaign, and I was part of that. So it was a very interesting era. It's a very interesting time, that campuses and the student involvement in all those issues.
Did you have no desire to stay in the States after you studied there? I mean, you went back to Bangladesh.
No, I always planning to go back. So that thought never came to my mind that I'll stay on. And in the meantime, in 1970, the war preparation was political tension was going on in Bangladesh in 1971. And end of 71, Bangladesh became independent. So immediately I decided this is time to go and participate in the rebuilding of the nation. So by June of 72, I left USA, went home, back to Bangladesh.
We'll find out in a moment what happened once you got back and you were starting to change the economy of a country through the microcredit financing. Mohammed Yunus, don't go away. We're talking with Mohammed Yunus, the founder of Grameen Bank and father of Microcredit. We'll be back with more one-on-one in just a moment.